Hello, my name is Katie Burke. I'm giddy today to bring you this video, this message, that dialogue that happened between the Ascended Master and Goddess Isis and myself. I asked for some guidance explaining emotional triggers in our feeling body. So a trigger just being, when we all know what a trigger is, right? We've all been emotionally triggered by sometimes the most surprising thing that then it just helps unleash this density that was held within us, where all of a sudden we're looking at something we weren't expecting to be looking at that day, but I guess we're doing this now. That's a trigger. And it's all just energy. It's actually an incredible healthy process on the spiritual path to be triggered, because it's just like you get to a point where you feel grateful for it, because it's like, oh, okay, we're gonna move through this today. And just as a side note about dealing with triggers, before we get to Isis's message about emotional triggers, I just want to say that as I've been working with her, the most direct way, if something is triggering or if I feel stagnancy because of fear, I just speak it out loud and I say, okay, bring it on. I want to feel all of it right now. In this moment, let's do this. I'm ready to move through this. And it's been pretty miraculous, the things that I've been able to move through this year, which in other lifetimes would have completely devastated either the entire lifetime or, we don't need to get into that. The important thing that I want to bring today is a message of clarity from Isis, because as I brought up emotional triggers and, just interfacing with our emotional body as it is triggered, she turned my focus to sisterhood, which I was so refreshed and excited to hear and to receive all of this remembering about sisterhood. And oh, I have chills. And so I just want to take a breath and say I'm here and I'm present to all divine information that Isis would like to deliver through my body. The importance of women connecting with one another. The importance of women connecting with other women. Now, a lot of the triggers that I believe we are experiencing as a collective is because we have moved into such a digital age of communication and building friendships and building businesses and building a life that exists on an entirely new realm of reality, which is our digital age, our internet collective. So I am very accustomed to my friendships and support systems existing in this realm. The problem with this realm is that it can get very messy, very disorganized, very loud, very all over the place. And so what Isis turned my eyes toward, if I wanted to examine triggers, she thought it might be an interesting place to start with redefining and remembering what it means to be in true sisterhood and healthy sisterhood, sisterly relationships with one another. Now, she wanted to start with, what is a woman? And she said, she was opening my awareness, of course, that gender is such a picked apart issue right now, because collectively we're growing up and we're starting to remember what it means to be a true woman. In my personal experience, this is just in my personal experience, finding other real women, adult womanhood, have initiated themselves into womanhood, females, can be quite rare. There are a lot of adults who are still very much circling in the trauma of their childhood and lashing out like children. We see this all the time. We're all familiar with that. So she first wanted to explain that that gender, it's becoming this thing that's really picked apart because collectively we're growing up. Collectively we are actually coming into adulthood. We're passing through these crazy junior high years, you know, like we have all these like adolescents stuck in these adult bodies, truly. And so she just reminded me that collectively we're growing up, collectively we're coming into our adulthood. And she wanted to speak beyond our biological identity, you know, our biological features. Just if you resonate with being a woman and resonate with a feminine, what you feel is a feminine energy, this is what we're talking about. And she then reminded me that celebrating the beauty and the fullness of womanhood, and celebrating the beauty and the cunningness of manhood, and, you know, the responsibilities of each and the beauty of each is safe to do. It's safe to celebrate your womanhood. It's safe to celebrate your manhood, and a connection to each of these things that is sacred to you is an important journey to explore, which many people are doing, which is really beautiful and really exciting to see. So humans who identify as female can come together and really create magic. And she means it when she says magic. She means magic when a group of adult women, self-initiated women who are so clear on their own energy field, separate from another's energy field. Okay, so we're talking about sovereignty, we're talking about maturity, we're talking about this gorgeous, are you guys remembering as I'm speaking? I mean, I have chills when I think of this, because she was just giving me the remembering of like, don't you remember when, you know, when the young women, they would be initiated into the sisterhood, right? And there was so much specific information coming through. So I'm just going to keep referring to my notes. So she was explaining, you know, this sisterhood, right? Remembering sisterhood and what this really means is something I've rarely seen on the planet in this lifetime. And I'm very much looking forward to it, because she wouldn't give me the vision of it if it wasn't already happening and starting to have this like snowball effect. I could literally feel it pinging in me as I was having this remembering, and I could almost just feel the rest of the collective like, oh, this idea is being really remembered. So we come into ourselves as sovereign women who do not see ourselves as victims any longer. We know that we are the creators of our reality, and we own that. We own that, and we are anchored to that as women, as individual women. And then we get to come together, and then we get to create magic. And then by coming into a collective, a small collective, okay, and that's the other thing. This is something to not take lightly. This isn't exactly like girls' wine night or like brunch. I'm talking about a once monthly, because I asked her, I was like, how often should we be doing this? And she explained to me that our boundaries in relationships as women has become just not ideal. There are so many of us right now who are in unhealthy woman to woman relationships, and we're starting to just calcify to the idea of sisterhood, because so many of our relationships with other women, even though we think that maybe like we've done some healing around it, you guys know, like there is a whole other level of true, authentic, empowered, clean energy connection that we are about to step into, that I am like really personally stoked about. So this self-initiated woman, right? We come together, each in our seat of being sovereign, each in our seat of divine neutrality, and feeling very complete within ourselves, of knowing who we are, And then you get a group of women together, and she said, she was like, you know, the moon cycles are really perfect in a lot of ways. They are really beautifully orchestrated to work with not just our physical bodies with our moon cycles, but with our emotional bodies. Our emotional bodies have these same rhythms as our physical bodies do. Isn't that gorgeous to just know that? And so since we have these cycles in our emotional body and our physical body and our, you know, all of our bodies that I've talked about in other videos, we can come together in this powerful container. Are you guys like remembering covens right now? Because that's how I feel. You come together in these powerful containers, which, side note, covens, not quite it, okay? But like, we have a little bit of a remembering of, right, the ritual of gathering. That's what I mean by that. I just mean the ritual of gathering and the intentionality of getting together. Because just a, you know, by tapping into these cycles that we have, we can show up and be really magical and then disperse, go live our own lives, not be so connected and interfacing all of the time, which I don't personally believe is how I don't personally thrive as a sovereign individual woman when I am too connected to other people's energies, right? So this once a month, whether it's, you know, it's kind of feels like full moon to me, when we get together and express and are fully present and are fully available to the other women around us, it does not serve the container of sisterhood to come into that sisterhood and be really empty. Now, there are absolutely like moments for that, right? Like you just need your cup filled, but no, and have the intention and have the courtesy and respect to prepare yourself for entering the container of sisterhood, to shine and to pour into one another, because by doing that, don't you see the energy exchange that can happen with such a beautiful full presence of your full divine feminine heart? And so she's showing me that, you know, this gathering, it's very intentional, and she was showing me the things that can happen when women gather in this way and with this much trust in one another and this much respect for one another. And you know, the even the idea of gossip or something like that doesn't even exist in this collective consciousness that I'm talking about of sisterhood. Okay, it doesn't come in the door. It can't. You know, if that is the mentality, if there's any sort of like wounded, you know, like it's just not going to come in to what I'm talking about. It just won't be able to make the party. And so just sit in that, just sit in knowing and holding the vision that this can be clearly articulated and understood and respected, not only by yourself, but by the other women in this vision, in this collective. So many, I just want to speak again because I'm feeling like it wasn't completely stated, and I want to be articulate and clear on how our current female relationships, they deserve more respect, more boundaries. She's like, we energetically vomit on each other all of the time as women because we feel like it's safe to do so. It's very rude. It's very rude to just bring your stuff and like give it to somebody else. Don't do that. Start taking responsibility of what has been created in your reality, in my reality, and healthy emotional release systems. Now, I'm not saying you can't go to someone for help, but that container needs to be clearly for your emotional processing. And typically that is best done with a therapist or with someone who has put significant energy into being a facilitator of that kind of exchange. And it's not something to just start texting your girlfriend like all of what's going on with you that's like, you know, and now like I'm taking my kids to the library and it's like, oh my God, I've got that going on now. No, that's not appropriate. It's inappropriate to be doing that as women to one another. Women have a lot going on and we have a lot to do on the planet, and we don't need to be doing that to one another. We should stop it. Okay, all of us, we need to be checking in before, you know, going to those places with one another. We need to just at least do a check-in, right, before. Set aside some time together if you need to, right, if you're going through something. So I want to be clear here that energetically what I'm saying, I'm not saying do everything yourself. That's not what is being communicated here. What is being communicated here is that before we go into a healing process with a friend or an emotional release with a friend, with a dear woman in our life, there needs to be a mutual understanding that that is about to go down and that's going to take place. Even in the smallest aspects any longer. So she gave me, you know, this information about the moon cycle and how perfect it is for the gathering, right? For the gathering of women. And then you're kind of off the hook then for a bit, and you get back to your work, you get back to your creations, you get back to your life, you get back to your garden, whatever it is that you have going on, right? And you're really present with those other aspects of your life. And then when you show up with women, some of the things she was showing me, healing infertility, you know, placing hands on one another and collectively meditating or setting an intention before you get together and meditating on it a lot. And then by the time you're there, you guys are sharing a collective vision and shifting timelines together. And that is, I have full goosebumps right now, because if we get together with that much intention, boundaries, absolute sovereignty, I've got you, sister, but I've like, my heart is like on fire for myself and for my sisters. You guys, this is a really big invitation to start remembering the power of that. And part of the power of that, part of what makes that powerful, is the absence of social media and like the kind of the constantness of like being so vulnerable all of the time, and just kind of seeing that from a distance. I'm not judging that. I'm just saying that's really what's going on is, and I'm part of it. You can pretty much every day see exactly what I'm up to. And so our sharing needs to be really thoughtful in what we're allowing people into. Where can everyone see into my process? There is something to be said about keeping that contained and keeping it, just keeping the energy really clean on that. And knowing that, every time you speak, you change the fabric of reality. So, just know that. And so knowing that, it really makes me think about how I use this incredible tool that is my voice. Makes me pause and think about it, and it should. Oh, and she's reminding me we need to also, okay, so we can't be energetically vomiting towards one another. Especially with how easy it is with our smartphones to just send off a message or, whatever way that you are communicating to even the collective that you need support. So to not enable anyone who is showing that kind of behavior towards you. So if you receive a message that crosses a line of boundaries for you, to approach that with boundaries, and to educate that woman, that, you know, that friend about what you think is appropriate, and do it with love, do it loving yourself and loving that woman, but firm, and it won't happen again. Okay. And just such an encouragement. She's reminding me to get together and look into one another's eyes. Whew, the rememberings that can take place when we get to look into each other's eyes. It's a very, very powerful thing. So I look forward to whatever this means for 2019 for us, because I'm really feeling more gatherings in person. I'm not saying I'm going to host them. I'm just saying I feel it for me, which is really exciting. And I look forward to creating this new sisterhood energy together and bringing up young women and understanding what it is that they are being initiated into, what kind of community they're being initiated into, and what's appropriate, what isn't appropriate amongst female friendships. I would love to know how this video, how it's being received. I'm very curious. I'm very curious how this resonates with your heart. So thank you for watching this and sharing some time and space with me. It means so much. If you feel inspired to and excited to, I would of course love any support you could give by sharing this video or liking this video, and you can reach me at my Instagram or my website, which is katieburke.co.